Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I would like to say thank you to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala because of His mercy and grace, so I can finish and present my research paper. And also, I would like to say thank you to my supervisors, Mr. Yana SPD M.Hum and Mr. Lukman Arif Rahman MPD, because they support so I can finish my research paper. This video is made for requirements of final project Sarjana Pendidikan Study Program. Before the presentation, let me introduce myself. My name is Cenora Angelita Milenia Putri, with my register number is 18220-196. I'm from English Education Study Program, IKIP Siliwangi. In this occasion, I would like to present my research with the title is Developing E-Module Assisted by Canva for Reading Narrative Text Student Senior High School. Okay, the presentation outline. First is background of the research. Second, objectives of the research. Third is research methodology. Fourth, result of the research. And the last is conclusion of the research. Reading is one skill that is important in learning English, besides another skills that is listening, writing, and speaking. According to Riwayat Tiningsih and Muazzizah, states that reading is the practice of using text to create meaning. Basically, the purpose of the reading process is acquiring information, knowledge, insight, and also for the pleasure of interest that is gotten from reading materials. Besides, the readers, especially students, can also improve their abilities in understanding reading text effectively and efficiently. But in reality, there are several problems found after conducting a preliminary study. First is the students lack in understanding a reading text, and second, the students feel bored when studying the material with reading comprehension. For that reason, researchers try to overcome this problem by made a product that is E-Module. E-Module is an alternative for students to learn independently and can help students to add information about the contents learned through systematic learning activities. This E-Module developed in the form of E-Module assisted by Canva application. Canva is an easy and attractive design application for students to learn. From this description, it is fundamental to analyze more about the content of developing teaching material in teaching reading, conducting research related to developing E-Module assisted by Canva for reading narrative text students senior high school. The objectives of the research that are first, to describe the developing E-Module assisted by Canva for reading students senior high school. Second, to analyze the effectiveness of product E-Module assisted by Canva for reading narrative text based on experts. Third is to investigate students and teacher responses of E-Module assisted by Canva for reading students senior high school. And the last is to find out the researcher obstacles developing E-Module assisted by Canva for reading students for this research used research and development with Borg and Gall theory. That are 10 steps. That are 10 steps of the research and development on Borg and Gall, 1983. That are first, research and information gathering. In these steps include include literature study, need measurements, small-scale research, and preparation of research framework. Second is planning. Planning, in this step, compiling a research plan which includes formulating skills and expertise related to the problem. Third is developing the initial form of product. In these steps, that are preparation of suggesting components, preparation of guidelines, and evaluation feasibility of the product. And the fourth, preliminary field product. In these steps, data collecting and analysis can be done by interviews, observation, and questionnaires. And the fifth step is revision of the main product. In these steps, is making improvements to the initial product produced based on the results of the initial trials. And the sixth step is the main field testing, also commonly called the main trial. These steps involve a wider subject. Data was collected quantitatively, especially on the performance before and after of the implementation of the product. And the next is revision of operational products. In these steps is making improvements to the result of wider trials, so that the product being developed is already an operational model design that is ready for validation. And the next is operational field testing, which is a validation test steps on the operational model that has been generated with the subject research wider than the main field testing. The purpose of these steps is to determine whether the developed model is ready to be used in schools without being to be directed or assisted by the researcher. The next steps is final product revision. In these steps is making final improvements to the developed model in order to produce final products. And the last steps is dissemination and implementation. In these steps, the researcher socialize the products to the wider community, especially in education field. The subject of the research is this research was conducted at the SMK Negeri in Cimahi at the 10th grade students. The main field test consisted 15 students, and the operational field test consisted with 13 students. For the instruments of this research is first validation sheet. Is an activity to collect data from experts or validator to determine valid or invalid to the learning materials developed. Second is questionnaires. The content of the questionnaire are about study attention, relevance, motivation, satisfaction, and difficulties. The researcher gives two questionnaire. It is for the teacher and for students. For the students, the researcher use strongly agree, neutral, disagree, and strongly disagree questions. And the last is field notes. It is to help make directions while doing research. Focus groups and contextual data that are valuable for the research. Okay, for the result of the research, That are four main results that answer the objective of the research. And this is firstly, the process of developing a model assisted by Canva for reading narrative text students senior high school. This result is answer the steps of Borg and Gall theory, but the researcher only use seven steps because that because the limited time, so the researcher cannot use the whole steps from Borg and Gall theory. Okay, so for the first is research and development gathering. In these steps, the researcher collect the data. The researcher conducted preliminary studies on the school to gain information by observation from the classroom and interview the teacher. Second is planning. The researcher plans to create a product design that suits the needs of students. And the third is developing preliminary form of the product. The researcher compiled based on the result of the research and information collecting stage and the planning stage. The first is determine the evaluation tool. In this stage, the researcher give assessment to the students. We give them questionnaires from the Canva, and then this can help them to improve their understanding and reading comprehension. And then designing product in Canva. The fourth is preliminary field trials. The teaching material product has been validated by two learning experts, namely the supervisor as a validator in this product. And the next is main product revision. Researcher make improvement to this product because there are several stages that are lack in this product. The researcher make revision, that is first, some students make suggestion that the product mostly use green, so the researcher change the color of the module, and then the researcher put the video in this product, that is video, and the researcher changed the video in the last, that after the learning process. And the second step is main field testing. In these steps, the researcher held a small scale product with 15 students, and then the researcher give their questionnaire, what they're thinking and what their opinion while using the product. And after that the researcher do operational field testing. In these steps, the researcher used 13 students in a class of chemia industry. And the next result is the feasibility of developing a model assisted by Canva for reading narrative text for students senior high school. That are the table. There are some indicator, and the validator gives score validation. Based on the table, it can be concluded that category D is 16 and categories A, B, C do not exist or equal to 0. Then the value is converted into the formula. D means number of items with relevant assessments by both validator divided A means number of items with irrelevant ratings by both validators, plus B, that means numbers of items with irrelevant assessment by validators 2, and C means number of items with irrelevant assessment by validator 1. And the score is 16 for D. D means relevant, divided 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 16, and then 16 divided 16 is 1.0. Based on the result of the calculation using the validation formula from Gregory, the result is 1.0, means that the test of the validity of the narrative text product assisted by Canva to learn students' reading comprehension is categorized as very high validity. And next is for the students and teacher responses to e-module assisted by Canva for reading narrative text, students senior high school. Firstly, this is students' responses. That is a chart, bar chart. For the main field testing based for the chart, it shows that the product average is 74%, and for operational field testing, average is 77.6%. It means that from the main field testing to operational field testing, there is 3.6% increase. Based on the data of the students' responses to the main fields and the operational main field, it shows that the result of the product are good category. And the next is the result from the teacher responses. That are some aspect to score by the teacher, and based on the table shows that the results of the teacher's response is 49 of the 13 questions available. Researcher calculate using a Likert scale that S divided N multiple 100%. S means the number of respondents answer in one item, and N means the number of ideal values in the item. And for the result is 49 divided 52 multiple 100%, and the result is 94%, which means the product is included in the very good category. The result that are obstacles while doing this research. The difficulties faced by researchers when developing a model assisted by Canva for reading narrative text students senior high school, that are difficulty finding references or resources, and then difficulty dealing with students' focus, and the last difficulty of some students could not access the module and Google Form. Mostly the problem is with students' focus and some internet problem, and for that the researcher tried to help the students with give them more attention and make the learning process more more excitedly. And then for the internet problem, the researcher tried to make a solution with so the students can share the product with another students. Okay, last is conclusion. This study uses the research and development method according to Borg and Gall 1983, which consists 10 stages, but the researcher only used 7 steps because of limited time, namely research and information gathering, planning, developing the initial form of the product, preliminary field testing, revision of the main product, the main field testing, and operational field testing. Second is in the feasibility test, the result is 1.0, which means that the test of the validity of the e-module product assisted by Canva for reading narrative text is categorized as very high validity. Third, the main field test was involving 15 students with the result of 74%, being categorized as very good. Meanwhile, the operational field test involving 30 students with a result of 77.6%, which could be categorized as good. So, this study experienced an increase of about 3.6%, and teacher responses is 96% being categorized as very good. So the responses of teachers and students in this product during the learning process shows a positive responses. And the last is the difficulties that researchers find it difficult to find references or supporting in this study, dealing with students' focus, and some students could not access the e-module and Google Form. Okay, that's all from my presentation research paper. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.